Pride 5 took place on April 29th, 1999 at the Nippon Gaishii Hall in Nagoya, Japan. This is our first Pride event of 1999 after our last event, Pride 4, was all the way back in October of 1998, and some may say still not enough time has passed. But we open up with some pomp and circumstance, some pageantry. I want to see more of this. Fuck an opening video package. More reveals like this whilst the ominous music plays in the background. They have this curtain up, right? And then as the lights turn red and the music gets more intense, the spotlight comes up on the ring, the lights go out, then we get straight into our first fight of the night after some training footage of our first fighters, Minoru Toyonaga. See, my pronunciations are so good against Egan Inoue, right? Bang, 2 for 2. The GOATs, Stephen Quadros and Bash Rutten on commentary. Bash Rutten is a big fan of the Inoue hairstyle. Of course, Inoue is bald. Toyo shoots on Egan, who sprawls and is able to take the back and is dangerously close to the rear naked choke. And even Quadros on commentary thinks that it is over. He even says, "Oh, it's over." And I actually thought so as well. So after that, of course it isn't, right? So we stand up, Egan throws a nice high kick, partially blocked, and Toyo then shoots again as Egan stuffs the takedown again, but doesn't really have the same threat this time as he did the first, and we then stand back up on the feet. Toyo continues to shoot and keeps getting sprawled on. It reminds me of that Matsui fight against Akira Shoji from Pride 3, I think it was. But Egan sprawls on Toyo again after another failed single leg from Toyo, who's then subsequently finished by Egan after a left hand and just a strange reaction from Toyo. The referee jumps in for the TKO win for Egan. It wasn't even like a proper knockout. He get knocked down with a left hand. I can't even... it was just a weird reaction. The referee thought, no more. He jumps in, TKO win for Egan. A fine start to the card, quick, which, I mean, always gets bonus points from me. A good win is always made better by it being quick. So this was a nice win for Egan, but Toyo didn't really look like the toughest competition, so, I mean, take from that what you will. Next up, we have one of the MVPs from Pride 4, Satoshi Honma, who probably had the best performance of the night on the last card. I mean, look, he stole the show, but it was petty theft. It's that kind of thing. And we seen him actually TKO Sano, I'm sure it was. I can't remember his first name. But he's back and he's facing off against Francisco Bueno. Now, after Honma's last performance, I'm actually looking forward to seeing this. He pieced up and destroyed Sano. Like, it was actually, again, on a card which is not great, it was actually very entertaining. They offered a few minutes of escapism for the down and out MMA fan, and I'm hoping to see more of that this time. Sadly, we are not getting it. We must have started the first minute and a half and the only strike being a leg kick thrown by Honma. And I shouldn't just say thrown, it was landed, but that's it. 90 seconds we've had a leg kick, okay? He then follows up with a couple more, and then about 30 seconds later, again, these times are rough estimates, because I forgot to complain about this, there's no clock, right? Just like that last UFC event that we watched, UFC 19, they've taken from Pride and just completely abandoned the clock. And I'm sure Pride never have a clock. At least UFC bring the timer back. But I'm going to complain about it every time. It's just one of these things. Honma continues to just spam the low kick, and it's getting to the point of like, come on, bro. Seriously, you've got nothing else. You just need to hammer this leg kick. The two dance around the ring, making little to no contact outside of the low kicks. And then out of nowhere, we get this flurry from Bueno. who knocks out Honma out of nowhere. He just like waded forward, no technique, chin in the air, winging punches like there's no tomorrow. And Honma just didn't have any defence. His chin was in the air. He get caught flush, KO'd, done, finished. I couldn't believe it. That's just how it goes, I guess, right? But genuinely one of the weirdest fights I've ever seen, because these two looked so resistant to combat for, I'm not kidding, 4.5 minutes. And then for no reason, we just all of a sudden went into a sprint. It's not as though like the rounds are 5 minutes long and there's only 30 seconds left, I'll get this out and win the round. The rounds are 10 minutes. Oh, and by the way, still no graphic for the rules either, if I didn't mention that before. We're still not doing that. But yeah, we just threw a full round of action into 30 seconds and Bueno gets the win, I guess. That's just how it goes. Next up, we have Igor Vovchanchyn versus Akira Shoji, who's back again, and I'll say this every time until he's not here. He must be best friends with the promoter, because it's not as though he's putting on the most entertaining fight on every card, and he has been on every card now. Sakuraba, including tonight, has been on 4. He missed the first event. Also on 4 appearances is Gary Goodridge, who misses tonight, but Gary Goodridge has been the MVP here. And he obviously just fought in March at UFC 19. And watch that review, that's on the channel if you haven't already. Probably one of my favourite cards. A lot of good stuff on there. But back to this, Igor is back off a TKO victory over Goodridge, and Shoji is off the back of a win over Walid Ismail. He's currently 2-0-2 in Pride. He loves a time limit draw, okay, and we'll get to that soon enough. Igor knocks Shoji down, kinda, sort of, doesn't really catch him clean. It's more of an off-balance knockdown. I think Shoji was on one leg when it happened. This comes after a decent period of nothing to start the fight, as is, you know, the standard at this point, I suppose, in Pride. But Igor doesn't really want to go to the ground. He has pretty good takedown defence here. Quadros says this is the first time Shoji has fought a really good striker, in Pride at least. And that's just kind of the psychology of the fight. Igor wants to keep it on the feet, keeping his distance. He's not really throwing up many set-up shots. He's picking his moments quite deliberately. But Shoji is just not wanting to get hit at all and take no risk whatsoever. So he's content to just stay away and attempt to get the fight to the ground when he can. More on that in a second. Shoji is now deploying the butt scoot, as Quadros calls it, and I'm so close to fast forwarding this shit at this point. Nothing actually makes me more mad than this. I would say irrationally mad, but it's completely rational. Actually, it's totally justified. The anger that you feel when some guy just sits down and tries to beckon you into a guard. Finally, the referee stands this bullshit up. But even after the restart, we don't really get much action. Igor keeps landing the leg kick. He'll land a sporadic combination here and there and then just shake off any attempt to clinch. I wish there was more to comment on and more exchanges, but Igor is the aggressor here. And Shoji just doesn't want to stand with him. And I won't go so far as to say Shoji doesn't want to fight whatsoever, even though he has scarpering around the ring like a pussy. He doesn't want to just stand there with Igor. It's not as bad as the Hugo Duarte Mark Kerr fight. It's not that level of cowardice. I don't think anything will beat that level of cowardice. I mean, my blood pressure is just getting bad thinking about it now. Oh, good lord. But we're into round 2. And it's more of the same, more butt scooting, as Quadros put it, from Shoji. And you know what, actually, maybe this is similar cowardice to Hugo Duarte. Absolute visual poison, ruining the sport. And Igor, at one point in the second round, gets the takedown and just nothing comes of it because he doesn't really want to be there. He knows that he can just outclass Shoji on the feet, so we then stand back up. Then fast forward a little further and more butt scooting from Shoji, and I mean the will to live is just draining at this point. We get a break after Igor kicks Shoji low. They never actually showed a replay, which means I only saw it once from one angle. It was an attempted body kick. Igor doesn't think that it went low, and I don't even think that it went low either. Then again, I'm not the one who get hit, so I don't know. Igor this time gets a real knockdown, and Shoji, I mean, I say this right, he got a real knockdown and it got absolutely no reaction from commentary or the crowd. Weirdest fucking thing ever. This then leads to more butt scooting as Igor then dives into the guard of Shoji. He's just frustrated at this point. And as soon as he dives in, Shoji then desperately tries to spring back up as though he hasn't been baiting the guard this entire fight. It is so frustrating. Like, you finally get what you want and then it's like, whoa, what's happening here? I don't want this. Makes absolutely no sense. We stand back up and the two need to be separated by the ref because of course they do. They're just clinching against the ropes. We need to get separated, obviously. But then we get into a wild trade to finish the round, which sees Igor hit this huge right hook, at least it looked like it in real time, knocking down Shoji to the mat as the bell rings. And then after a replay, it looked like he hit Shoji. Like, it looked like he hit him with, imagine, well, okay, you probably don't need to imagine, you can just look, but see where your wrist and your thumb meet? He hit him with that, and it sent Shoji down to the mat as the round then ends. And at this point, I don't even know if commentary knows the rules, because this fight goes to a decision after 2 10-minute rounds, which I don't think has happened before, because every fight just has its own unique clock, where we either have a set number of rounds, how many rounds, doesn't matter, pick any number you want, or we just do unlimited rounds if you're a Gracie. But we don't have a graphic. Commentary doesn't tell us, because apparently they don't know either. Quadros has to stop in the middle of his sentence and say, well, Igor won the decision here. I'm not joking, they just cut a replay they're showing because they don't even know what's happening. And the two fighters are acting as though they were preparing for another round. Both guys are sitting in the corner on a stool getting a drink. Like, what is going on right now? But for the first time, we actually have judges to decide a winner. At our previous events, when the time ran out, if the time ran out, when the time ran out, we would just call it a time limit draw. And here we have judges, and for the first time, they make an actual good decision. So the winner is Igor. Not that entertaining, but there wasn't much Igor could really do about that. Shoji was running from him nearly the whole fight, up until the end when he got knocked out. Next up, we have Enson Inoue versus Soichi Nishida in the biggest pair of trousers I've ever seen. We see Inoue, he's been here on the reviews, at least. I'm sure he was at UFC. He won quickly by submission. I can't even remember the number now. It was in one of the tournaments. But Enson downs Nishida with his first punch, assaults this poor man on the ground, and wins easily by rear naked choke. Nothing else to comment on here. I don't even think it was fixed. I just think this guy doesn't know what he's doing. The shots from Enson were hard. He throws the choke on and it's done. Nice win for Enson. Next up, we have an exhibition grappling match in the Gis, Rickson Gracie versus Royler Gracie. And if you think for 1 minute I'm watching this bullshit, you are out of your mind, right? Rickson says on the mic, we are here not to fight, but to give you all a demonstration of jiu-jitsu. So this isn't even an exhibition like Quadros said it was. It's a fucking Gracie seminar for however many people are here as the crowd politely golf claps while they do their fucking jiu-jitsu. Could you imagine UFC doing this now on a fucking number card? This is a pay-per-view. They then start demonstrating with fucking prop weapons, a fake bat, a fake knife, in a fake scenario, and the crowd are silent. Imagine doing this shit right now in Mobile, Alabama, or Kenner, Louisiana in 1999, or 1998 last year, because we are still early in the year after all. This was some of the most self-indulgent shit I have ever seen. Not even just in MMA, just in life in general. Terrible. Just terrible. Filling up, like, we're padding for time, and these cards are already ridiculously long. So I don't know why we thought, like, see if this thing was going long. Like, these cards have been upwards of 3 hours before. Would we have just cut this if the show was going long? Or is this here because, you know, we're running through these fights so quickly? Terrible. Just terrible. So next up, we have Kazushi, Sakuraba and Vitor Belfort. Now, Vitor at UFC 18 told us he was going to fight Frank Shamrock at UFC 19. And at UFC 19, instead of Frank Shamrock, he was scheduled to fight Guy Mezger. The fight we actually got instead was Tito Ortiz versus Guy Mezger. So Vitor had to pull out of the fight at the beginning of March, but he's here at the end of April. I have no fucking idea what is up with this guy. He's now got a new haircut, and at the start of the fight, he's just fucking around trying not to wear the mouthpiece without the referee seeing. I don't know what the fuck has happened to this guy. He is just mentally broken. Sakuraba attempting a high kick, which is blocked by Vitor, who's just unbelievably slow to start. I don't know what the fuck's wrong here. He finally springs into action, taking down Sakuraba, spamming ground and pound. We get an actual bit of a flurry. There's some life in Vitor Belfort. And I feel like the crowds are taken aback by this because it's the most prolonged reaction I think we've heard from a Pride audience. It's like, wow. Like, I don't even know how to describe it. Like, there's a sign of life from the audience. Again, they've politely golf clapped and maybe had the odd reaction to a stoppage when there's been some sort of outrageous disqualification, or, you know, the booing at the end of Mark Kerr fights where Mark Kerr's dominating some guy and the opponent breaks the rules, so the crowd boos. I can't remember like this level of prolonged reaction to a flurry because they think Vitor's actually going to beat Sakuraba, and they're like, wow. But we now get another big reaction as for the first time, I think maybe ever, Sakuraba actually throws strikes from the guard. I swear to God I'm not lying. We have become so accustomed to this guy literally never throwing, actively avoiding opportunities to end the fight so that he can instead attempt arm locks. But here we are actually striking and the crowd reacts like, what the fuck is going on? This is just insane. I've never heard a Pride audience be this loud before. Vitor lands some nice up kicks from the bottom and Sakuraba has some nice low kicks to the thigh back as Vitor lays down on the ground, which will become a theme. Good grief. Sakuraba's kicks are landing very clean and very quickly starting to bruise Vitor, and he just keeps spamming them because Vitor just lets him do it. And Vitor just stays sitting on the ground. And again, I need to ask, who the fuck is this guy? Quadros said earlier, we have never seen Vitor fight like this, and it's truly sad to see. There was a point after Vitor's debut, right? The first time we seen him at UFC 12, he won the tournament. He then beat Tank Abbott in the super fight. And you thought, wow, Brazil actually has somebody to be proud of after Marco Ruas. Because before that, we'd had some real shit. But we had this sort of drought after Ruas left of good Brazilian fighters, or I'll say entertaining Brazilian fighters because people might feel some sort of way about some people. But you saw Vitor for the first time and you had never seen somebody throw punches that fast before. He got derailed a little by Randy Couture, which was a fight he never should have been in. He should have had the title fight. We've been over this ground before. The reviews are up. Watch them. But Tank got the title fight against Maurice Smith instead of Vitor, even though Vitor had beaten Tank. The reviews are up on the channel. Go watch them. They're great. But after that Couture fight, he got beaten by wrestling. And then, no, he didn't. The wrestling posed a threat, and then Randy Couture just pieced him up on the feet. But the wrestling played a factor in it. And then in his next fight, it almost became his mission to show people that he had ground game. Instead of just knocking Joe Charles the fuck out, he got hung up on ground game. And it just looked like his confidence was shot, and then he's out for nearly a year, comes back, knocks out Vanderlei in seconds, and you think, oh, brilliant, he's back. Then it's 6 more months until his next fight. There's all this drama about who it's going to be against. First it's Shamrock, then it's Mezger, then it's nobody, because he pulls out of the fight, which was a month ago, and now we're here, and he's doing this bullshit lying on his back. Sakuraba dives in and lands on Vitor, who, like Shoji earlier in the night, accepts that as an invitation to then spring back up. from the ground to the feet after asking the entire time, please enter the guard. And now that you're here, I will now stand up, and after that the round is over. Vitor just gave up that round. He had that initial flurry, which you would have thought would have won him the round. And he just hands it away to Sakuraba by lying there. Sakuraba now all of a sudden piecing up Vitor on the feet, faking roundhouses to land straights. He's making Vitor Belfort look fucking stupid on the feet. Throws a spinning back kick, which Vitor just runs off, and then lies on his back. More of this bullshit. More of this. Sakuraba steps back, the referee stands him back up, and after the stand-up, Vitor lies back down. You know that you're losing right now, motherfucker. You complete idiot. What are you doing? Stephen Quadros says that this is the first time he's seen someone in mixed martial arts properly land a spinning back kick. I'll take his word for it, I trust him. I can't remember anyone in UFC hitting a spinning back kick, so he might be right. Cue all the people who saw a regional MMA fight in like 1995 where some guy hit it for a KO, no footage of it whatsoever, but trust me bro, it happened. And the referee stands us up again. Sakuraba hits another spinning back kick, and then another, all landing flush by the way. Vitor has absolutely nothing for this attack. He's actually getting pieced up by Sakuraba, who at this point in his career we've only seen grapple people, and again actively avoid striking. More leg kicks on the feet for Sakuraba. This is so fucking weird. Vitor's just given up. He basically can't move anymore, and it's almost entirely self-inflicted because he just lay there earlier in the fight and just ate all those leg kicks, so now he can't do anything. Vitor's now bleeding, lying on his back again, and at this point Sakuraba should just start showboating and clowning this guy, because Vitor has had nothing for Sakuraba since that early flurry. His leg is cooked, he's been hit with the same spinning back kick fucking 3 or 4 times, stood back up, lies back down. Sakuraba starts landing hooks to the leg. Yes, you heard that correctly. Sakuraba starts landing hooks to the leg of Vitor Belfort, who has stood back up and then stands who is stood back up and lies back down. Truly pathetic. Sakuraba then does this leaping double stomp to Vitor as the bell goes, and the crowd was really into this fight and probably saved it. Even Vitor Belfort pulling this shit, just lying down constantly. Sakuraba managed to keep the fans with it and wins the unanimous decision, thoroughly deserved. And seeing Vitor Belfort like this is just truly depressing. Allegedly Vitor hurt his hand here, but that just does not wash with me whatsoever, because you've hurt your hand. This doesn't mean that you need to lie on your back and just eat kicks. So the excuse of, oh, I hurt my hand, just does not wash with me whatsoever. Good win for Sakuraba. We won't see Vitor Belfort in another fight for over a year until he returns at Pride 9. Now, time for our main event. Mark Coleman versus Nobuhiko Takada, who had his last fight against Rickson Gracie where he lost the rematch after losing the first fight as well. He had one win in between, which was most certainly fixed against Kyle Sturgeon. Mark Coleman's on a 3-fight slide, losing to Mo Smith, Pete Williams and Pedro Hizzo, even though, I think he might have won that Hizzo fight. He's now washed up, almost literally. This sort of cements it in Pride FC. He's trying to save his career. Coleman starts by attempting the takedown, as he often does. Takada holds the ropes to prevent the takedown, as they often do against these big American wrestlers. He gets a yellow card. This is just what everybody does to Mark Kerr. They just hold the ropes and cheat, and that's just kind of how it goes for these guys. But again, just like every other Mark Coleman fight, he gets on top early, and because there's no headbutts, his attack is solely now reliant on his hands, which just aren't as effective without the headbutts for Coleman. So he just starts hooking the body. There may be other reasons why he starts hooking the body. We'll get to that in a second. Coleman is in position for the neck crank, and Quadros calls this out because Coleman loves himself a good neck crank, and he just ends up not pursuing the neck crank. Again, more on that later. Coleman headbutts the body and gets a verbal warning because you can't do that either, but we stay in position on the ground and now into side control. where Coleman delivers some knees to the body. And Mark Kerr's in the corner here wearing a fucking suit. I'm not sure why he's in the suit, but he's here. And Coleman into mount, starts throwing punches for a brief second before Takada turns round. Always a bad move. You never do that. You're almost certainly going to get finished when you turn around in the mount. But instead, Takada's able to get back to feet and then pulls guard. More on that in a minute. Coleman, again, is able to get into the neck crank position. He's on the side. He's not pulling yet. But Bas Rutten says that this is so easy to escape. And Quadros says that he beat Dan Severn with us. And Bas says it doesn't matter who he beat. Which now makes me think the fight at UFC 12 could have been fixed. Because when Bas explains how easy this is to escape, basically just turn your side. Or turn to your side. It makes me think that it was just fixed, you know. You always need to be worried about a Dan Severn fight. You never know which are fixed and which aren't. He's a wrestling guy, or pro wrestling guy, I should say. That's not enough just to say wrestling. And see, when there's the chance for a bigger rematch down the line, or he just gets paid enough money, he'll lose if you want. So back to this fight here. Coleman ends the round on top looking for the key lock as the bell rings. And into round 2, Takada starts with a couple low kicks. Coleman gets the takedown and lands in side control. This is important. Remember, gets the takedown, lands in side control. He then willingly goes from side control into the guard of Takada. He puts himself into the guard. He gives Takada wrist control and stands at his feet, punches the thigh. Remember, we started in side control. And then 2 minutes into the round, Takada gets the heel hook and the win as commentary is going, oh no, and asking what is he doing. This was definitely fixed, and Mark Coleman has gone on to say as much, and watching it nearly 30 years after the fact, it was definitely 100% fixed. He even milks the tap out like a WWE wrestler would. He waves his hand in the air first, almost to let the crowd know, oh no, I'm going to tap. And then he does. Takada wins, and commentary genuinely are in disbelief. They are asking how the hell did this happen. I'm not joking. Quadros cannot stop saying, oh my god, oh my god. He just keeps repeating, oh my god. He genuinely cannot believe what he has just seen. Again, we started off in side control after a takedown. He then just willingly fucking puts himself in guard and taps out. Quadros says that this almost defies reality, how Coleman lost here. I wonder why. So this is now a 4-fight slide for Coleman. And if I was watching this in real time, I would just say Coleman should retire because Takada is so fucking bad. Coleman says that Pride offered him more fights so long as he lost to Takada. And he wasn't getting back into UFC, which is bullshit because he beat Pedro Hizo. And they gave the decision to Pedro, even though Coleman won that. I don't know if they thought, well, here, we have Randleman now at the top of the card, and if they won't fight each other because they're friends and training partners, right, then we'll just go with a new guy with more upside, and that's why they let Coleman go. But yeah, Coleman throws this fight to be allowed back. Think of this as like a humiliation ritual. Bass and Quadros sign off, domo arigato, sayonara, and that brings Pride 5 to a close. I actually didn't mind this event. I can't bring myself to say that it was good, because that would just be if not a complete lie, it would be a stretch. But I enjoyed the first fight, which was then followed up by 2 very strange fights where Bueno and Honma done nothing for 4.5 minutes and then compressed an entire round's worth of action into 30 seconds. But then our next fight sort of rationed out the action over 20 minutes of Igor and Shoji. I mean, that was just filled with butt scooting, which just made it unbearable to watch, makes me want to skip the fight. Any fight, it doesn't matter who's in it. Like, just fast forward to the end. It's so bad to watch, and I like Igor Vovchanchyn. I don't really give a fuck about Shoji, but the fight just, it irked me, we'll say. Inoue versus Nishida was quick, nothing really more to say. It was over before it even started. Nishida shouldn't even have been in there. And Inoue really could have killed him if he wanted to. Sakuraba versus Belfort was a bit of a spectacle, even if only one person turned up to fight. It's the only real way that I can describe it. It was probably the best Sakuraba performance we've seen, and the worst Vitor performance. But look, Sakuraba weathers the early storm and then proceeds to dominate Vitor for the following 15 minutes or so. It was quite impressive, even if Vitor was just lying on his back, accepting damage, just throwing away the round, and then whilst behind, continuing to lie on his back. When he gets stood up, he can defend the same move over and over again. Sakuraba's so confident in the kick, he's even telegraphing it. It's obvious that's what he's setting up. And still gets it though. You know, not good from Vitor, but really good from Sakuraba. We actually seen something different from him at this event. Like, we've now seen his stand-up game instead of just non-contact grappling, which was good. I actually quite enjoyed it. So after that, we had the main event, which was a disgrace. Look, I'm not going to talk about fixed fights outside of the actual review of the alleged fight itself. It is what it is. Takada is terrible. I don't know why they're trying to build around this guy. I don't care how good of a pro wrestler he is. Why are we doing this? And by the way, terrible from Mark Coleman. Now, he's complicit in this bullshit. So now I need to question every Mark Coleman fight from now on, at least in Pride. I don't think the roundhouse kick from Pete Williams in UFC was fixed, but it's a shame to see this fall from grace. Now, obviously, Coleman will go on to rebuild his career, but we've genuinely watched this guy. His career started, and he said it was his dream to retire undefeated, and not that long after that, he's now on a 4-fight slide, throwing fights because he needs the money. It's fucking depressing. Like, Coleman started and he won his first 2 tournaments. He then beat Dan Severn, which again, now I can't even trust after Bash Rutten explains how easy it is to escape Mark Coleman's favourite submission. So, but I mean, like, he was 6-0. I've got him his photo here with holding up the belts. He's wearing one wrapped around his waist. He had 3 belts. And that fight against Maurice Smith and then the KO against Williams. I'm not going to go so far as to say the robbery against Hizzo. I think he beat Hizzo, but when you don't do enough to win the fight, that's just how it goes. You get beat again for the 3rd time. And then here, it's like, you know, he gets cut from UFC and now he needs a job. It's like, yeah, sure, I'll throw this fight so that you can book me more. It's a shame. And this video is going to be titled The First Fall Off in MMA. And I don't actually feel bad about doing that because Mark Coleman's actually able to resurrect his career. And when he does, that video will be titled The First Resurrection in MMA history. But ending on that downer, the next Pride event is on July 4th, 1999 for Pride 6. Looks like a decent card on paper, but we know how that goes. We've been doing this long enough. A viewer on the channel commented on, I think it was the last Pride video, that this promotion actually starts to get good heading into the 2000 Grand Prix after Pride 7 or 8. So I'm prepared to stick it out until then. And by the way, that fucking Grand Prix finals event is over 5 hours. And that's just the finals, that's not including the opening round. I might need to break that finals down into a 2-parter. I don't know if my blood pressure can take all that in one go. But I think we'll continue these reviews into 2000. But there is still enough time for them to piss me off to the point where I just call this whole series. So you'll just need to keep up with the channel to find out what happens next. Hit the like button on this video, hit subscribe, hit the notify bell to stay up to date with the content as it drops. Comment your own thoughts below on this review, on your memories of Pride, when you think that Pride started to get good. And I will see you all next time.